I'm Tiffany Jones,
And I'm Kelly Lewis.
and we're your revenue insiders. We are here today with a TikTok superstar, Megan Fletcher, at least in my For You page feed. You come up all the time, Megan. I'm so excited to have you on the pod.
Thanks for having me.
Do you want to give everyone a little bit of background about your TikTok channel? I mean, that's how I found you. And I will say, I specifically found you. The video that came up, I haven't told you this, is like you taking things out of like a little dumpster, like ideas to do.
I brought that. I brought,
Great.
Yeah, there's the
Yeah.
dumpster.
yeah.
Yeah. It was a good attention getter. Can you tell us a little bit about your channel?
Yeah, sure. So it's called CRM Bestie. And I started it because there was a gap in the market, I guess, in TikTok. So I, sometimes would scroll on TikTok and I realized I would see a lot of sales focused content, but not a ton of RevOps or like sales systems focus. And I thought, I have experience with Salesforce and RevOps. So I started putting content out there, and it seems like a lot of people were also looking for similar content.
Yeah, I mean, I know Kelly, I feel like spend more time on TikTok than you do. It sucks me in, but yeah, I mean, I was following like the corporate bro or corporate Natalie and like all of those channels. And so like I feel like it was natural to like see yours pop up in my feed as well.
Yeah, it's been fun and also something that I've never done before. I have always been in the corporate world and actually in private equity where it can get a little stuffy. And so it's been an interesting transition from sitting at a board table, in a big room with a lot of men to, like sitting in my pajamas holding up this little recycle bin and filming content and then learning how to do all of the editing and everything that goes into creating TikTok and then just getting a ton of engagement. Like there is a full community of people out there who are excited to, strangely enough, chat about Salesforce in their off time, right? Like when they're not at work. So I've learned a ton from it and I'm continuing to grow. So I think I'm on the right path. Like I'm still having fun with it.
I love this so much. And the reason I love it is I'm sure some of your followers are salespeople actually who don't really understand how the systems work. And RevOps seems so foreign. And if you're making it digestible and approachable, those are skills that once they understand how things work in the background, it's easier to be better at your job. And so I know I was a better seller once I spent a stint in RevOps. So I think there's just so much there. So I love it. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, better at your job, but also just a better partner at work, right? Like
Totally.
sellers that I work with that like understand even like a little bit of what RevOps does, they are just so much easier to like problem solve with than people who just like see us as a blocker. And that's honestly like how a lot of people feel in the RevOps world.
Yeah. I've definitely seen that. And it's funny, a few of my most consistent followers and people who engage are salespeople who are like, oh, I didn't know that I had any control over my day-to-day workflow. I didn't know that I can change this or modify that layout or whatever it is. Or, oh, all I have to do is ask my admin this or send them this video. And then they can, like, it's that easy, it's that fast to make this change that will actually make a difference in my day-to-day life with something that like a lot of people kind of put up a wall against, right? Like
Totally.
I have to enter all of this information in Salesforce. And so I think there's a lot of misconceptions about what Salesforce and like all sales tools are for, and being able to have that conversation with people who maybe are like, Salesforce is just for micromanaging, and actually being able to talk about that. Like, well, it's not actually. Like, here's what it's for. Unfortunately, there are some micromanagers out there, and doesn't matter what tool you're using, like that's going to happen. So yeah, it's been an interesting conversation that's kind of ongoing, and being able to enable not just admins or people who are working on the RevOps side, but also enable salespeople and kind of like empower them. I've seen people come back and say, I asked my admin for this and I'm saving 5 minutes a day, which adds up. So
Yeah.
Totally does.
So you have a day job, you're in private equity. Are you using these tips day to day? I find like Kelly and I talk about so much stuff with so many people on the podcast and like in theory, like there's a lot of great things to do, but in like day to day practice, it doesn't always translate for my day job, at least like all the ways I want to do things or like the optimal ways. Are you able to use all of your tips and tricks every day?
Yeah, actually, and the reason why I know these tips and tricks is because I have implemented them. So I've been working in RevOps, specifically focused on Salesforce for about 12 years. So I work in private equity, but I build Salesforce for our portfolio company. So we invest in companies, and then if the company needs help with sales tools or RevOps, I step in, help them set up their Salesforce. I've worked with other CRMs, but I have to say I'm partial to Salesforce and other systems, right? Anything that connects to Salesforce, I've probably at least heard of it. So I see in my day-to-day job like what people are coming up against, things that are tiny changes that make the biggest difference, and I just essentially say like, "Ooh, I had to set up lead routing today. How can I like make that into a bite size digestible piece and provide it to the TikTok community?" So that's kind of how I've been able to translate.
So cool.
I look at you and I'm in awe because you're balancing a lot. I think you shared right before we started that you are a mom of four.
Crazy.
So crazy.
Yes.
And you are a corporate badass and you have a side hustle as a CRM bestie. How are you balancing that all? Because I know Tiffany and I struggle with this. She's got her day job, she's got the Revenue Insiders. My full time job is the Revenue Insiders. But I'm just curious, how do you balance it all?
So I shouldn't take credit for fully having 4 kids. I have 2 kids of my own and 2 stepkids, so it's not like 100% of the time 4 kids. But I don't know. I feel like I actually revisit my priorities and kind of like my values on, I don't know, like at least a monthly basis and make sure I'm taking action in alignment with those values and priorities. And like at the end of the day, my family will always come first. Just because like my family's health and happiness is my health and happiness. And some people might disagree, but they're like, we're not working in an ER. Like, no one's gonna die.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Feels like
so
it sometimes, even though it shouldn't.
some people make it seem like it is life or death, but it is so not. And so I am so fortunate. I get to work from home. I have worked from home for, I guess, since COVID. I've been working from home full time. I do a little bit of travel, but being able to work from home, I think it's like it creates more hours in the day, kind of, from my perspective. So that definitely helps. And then just being able to kind of time block and focus when I need to focus and set time aside for things that are important to me. I pick up my kids every day from school. I go to their activities and it's just, I don't know, it seems doable. I think I've been doing it for so long that it's just, like I have time for it all. I didn't need to start the side hustle necessarily, like, probably could have done without that and just been, reading books in my spare time instead, but I don't know, it's like a little passion project and it fuels me, right? Like, it gives me energy and kind of adds something for me when you're a mom, like, you're working for a company, you're always doing things for people outside of yourself, and so the side hustle actually ended up being something that's like mine. It's not my employer's, it's not my husband's, it's not my kids, like it's my thing. So it's kind of like a hobby. So I don't know, it's been manageable.
Yeah. I'm surprised it's manageable. I feel like TikTok content.
The honesty comes out.
very blunt here on the podcast. No, but I mean, it's great that it comes so easily. But even like I think about Kelly, what you and I do to try to like rely on each other. Everyone has like different periods of being like busy or available or like ups and downs, and we have the benefit of each other of like leaning into the other person to like really pick up the torch and do the extra editing or like create the social clips, send the emails, and we really have that ability to balance between each other. And I just think about like doing that all on my own from like a TikTok perspective just feels like that my own personal experience makes it feel like it would be overwhelming. So it's great that it's something that just naturally fits in. I think it's fantastic. And, honestly, like I love the saying like things in motion stay in motion. And I feel like moms end up in this situation like you just keep going, and it doesn't take a lot of effort to add more things to that wheel sometimes because you just keep moving, and that's the only like status we know.
I
Yeah.
also think moms in RevOps, because we have to be efficient with our time, any
Yeah.
caregiver, we just have to be efficient. Yes, you have to keep moving, but you're always looking for like, how can I be more efficient? If I organize the hair drawer this way, can I get my kids out the door 2 minutes earlier? Whatever
Yeah.
that looks like. And so when it comes to processes and running a revenue organization, um, I just think you're always constantly in the mindset of, okay, that I can make this 2 less clicks. I can make this easier for my sellers. I can make it easier for us to get this data into AI, whatever it is. So I think it's just a constant state.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely find myself doing that, especially with the TikTok stuff. Obviously I do it in my day job. My job is to be more efficient and find places where I can drive efficiency and improvement. And I like to do that. And so it translates into my day job, or sorry, my home life. And then it's translated into creating content. I'm like, okay, how can I spend less than 10 minutes creating this video? Like, how can I take what I know and just really like spend 10 minutes? And if it's taking more than 10 minutes, I'm setting it down and I'm going to cook dinner or whatever it is. But I have been able to, I don't know, I've always been like a boundaried person kind of. And so I have been able to kind of set up framework that allows me to actually focus my time. Like when I'm doing my day job stuff, I'm not over here looking at TikTok and like liking comments and whatever. Like I have my TikTok time set aside. And then I have my day job time set aside, my family time set aside. And there are times of the year, I would say, where I am very, very busy. And I think like, can I just set one of these balls that I'm juggling down? Like, do I have to be doing all this? And I have in the past, right? Like last month, I did not post a lot on TikTok. Like I slowed down. I saw my growth kind of, steady out, but that's fine. Again, we're not in an emergency room. So it's like, it's fine.
Yeah. So one of the things you mentioned earlier was that in the private equity world, like you're in a stuffy room full of stuffy men on a lot of occasions. Like how like
And
everything
probably some stuffy women as well.
yeah, sure. Stuffy
Yeah.
people. I mean, everything we just talked about, like from a female energy perspective, is so different than at least my experience in those types of boardrooms. I'm sure Kelly, I know you share some of the same ones. How do you like integrate all of that like passion and that ability and like just some of that female energy that you carry that's so unique to like how you're successful? How do you show up in those boardrooms and like and be a different source of energy for making decisions or driving initiatives?
That is a great question. And I think if you would have asked me this question 5 years ago, I would have answered it differently. I now have been the only woman on my team for, I think, about 5 years. And before that, we've had one woman come and go. But before that, when I was one of a small group of women, I for some reason I was kind of scared. I don't know, like I wouldn't really speak up. I was also new to the company, so it definitely like your tenure at a company will impact like kind of like your confidence, or at least that's
Sure.
how I felt. So I've been the only woman now for 5 years. I've been at the same company for 6 years, and I kind of feel like I can use it to my advantage at this point. Even being remote, a lot of my team is in person. And other people are, they kind of work from home, but really they're on site at these companies, like, 10 days on, 2 days off. Like they're building warehouses, like they're doing things bigger and more in person than I am. But I feel like now when I'm on a call, and it's funny, on these Zoom calls, I'm looking at 25 men, right? Like there'll be 3 conference rooms, they're like all over the country, full of men, and then there'll be like some people, spread throughout the country also at their homes or whatever it is. And I used to be intimidated by that, and now I just feel like, yeah, look at me, like I'm here, like I and they all know it. You can't not notice it, which I think is like we all know that I'm the only woman on the team. I I also there's not a lot of parents on my team. I think in the industry that I work in, there's
Yeah.
a lot of single men at all ages too. And so I think I can kind of like flex. Like I'm a parent, I'm a mom, I'm a working mom. I am the only woman here. So like what I'm saying is important, kind of. Like not to sound overly confident, but I've had to kind of harness that, and it's effective. And people respect me, I think, because I've been able to just kind of own what is, and instead of turning it into something that's like scary or negative, I've been able to look at it from a more kind of like empowering angle.
I like that you touched on being in a room as a parent with people who aren't parents or caregivers of any
Yeah.
type. I look back at my like 20-year-old self and am ashamed because I definitely got annoyed when people would say, "Oh, my kid's sick, I can't come in," or "I can't get on the plane because I'm too pregnant," or something, like whatever it was. Like there were things that I just, as
Naive Kelly, naive Kelly.
naive Kelly, Kelly needed some reality checks. She got them. But definitely when I was rising in my career, didn't understand what it looked like to go home and have a whole second job, maybe bigger
Mm.
than that, and understand what those pressures are like. I was a different person, a different professional, and I just didn't have that empathy. And I know my husband often says this too, that when he works with parents now or any caregiver, he thinks about these things differently and has different conversations than he did before he became a parent. So it's not that I think those individuals don't want to have empathy and understand, but if you're not in it, it's really hard to understand.
Yeah, it also changes your perspective. Like what is actually important?
Totally.
Like, is this so important? Like, are we going to yell at each other or get really heated? Or, is marketing and sales going to fight because who actually was the source of that inbound lead? And like this opportunity,
Oh my gosh.
like, oh, I've had that conversation more times than I can count. But like, it's kind of interesting if you sit back and you're like, I keep people alive. Like, I don't have time to be stressed about this?
And I think some of the reasons, like some of the unspoken reasons why people get promoted or get to like very senior positions is they're really good at prioritizing. Like they're good at saying no to things, and that is both their team's time and their own time, their energy. And to that point, like as a parent, you have to say no to things. You don't, like, you have so much more perspective. And so I do think it enables you to show up in, you can flex that in a room and say like, nope, that's the wrong call. Here's why. Let's move on. Like we're wasting our time, because you don't have the time or energy to spend. Like if you know it and you move on. And that is really respected in all levels that I've seen, all the way up to boardrooms, to say like, this is the order we're doing things in. Here's my justification of why. If there's a strong debate, let's have it. Otherwise, let's move on because we have other things to deal with and talk about. And I do think parenthood gives you a lot of that perspective to have that strength.
Definitely. Yeah.
Tiffany, you always say if you have a big project that needs done quickly, give it to the busiest person you know. And I've repeated that so many times because it is so true.
Mhm.
Because yeah, you don't. No one wastes time circling the drain if you don't have time to waste. So
Yep.
yeah. Um, You mentioned in what you were just talking about, Megan, that you're one of the only remote people as well. So not only are you one of the only women or the only woman in the room in most cases, you're also one of the only remote people on your team. And I mean, a blessing. Like, I don't know how many loads of laundry I got done on Monday while I was working and in meetings.
Yep.
Um, but I mean, I think that's hard too, to like for teams to have so much in person connection and you to be kind of like the remote person, not in the conference room with everyone else. How do you manage being remote in that environment?
Yeah. So I've been remote again since COVID, but before that, I was part-time remote. So when I got hired, I had essentially got brought into this company by someone who I had previously worked with, my prior manager. And she brought me on, and I said, I'm only coming here if I can work from home 3 days a week, like 2 days a week at the beginning, and then 3 days a week. She knew I had a family. And so I got in with the expectation already that I wasn't going to be 100% in the office, which again, I'm very fortunate that I was able to be in a position to even ask for that. So, and I know not everyone is like, I did my time in an office, like I worked in San Francisco, I commuted in, I was on a BART train, like public transit, going into San Francisco every single day when my kids were young. And looking back, I'm like, oh, I missed so many hours with them when they were really young. But anyway, I'm making up for it now. But I did my time in an office and I proved myself to the right people. And so I had that expectation already coming in. Like, we know that we don't do remote employees, but we'll do it for Megan. That was kind of like the setup. Again, lucky. And so then COVID happened and everyone was remote for a time. They actually closed our San Francisco office and the headquarters is in Chicago. So, obviously I'm not moving to Chicago for work. There are other opportunities out there that are remote now. So, I was able to stay full-time remote and I think people got used to it. I never had a problem with, being able to speak up on a Zoom call or um actually they do have an interesting point being the only woman and on Zoom. I have gotten put last on a lot of, like, team calls, like, "Oh, everyone give their update."
Yeah.
I get looped in last, and I'm like, "Okay, I'm not gonna look too far into that, like, is it because I'm a woman? Is it just because 'cause I'm remote? Is it because, like, my manager, like, already knows what I'm doing, or he knows that he doesn't have to micromanage me, essentially, and so, like, is it just that? Is he like, "Ah, Megan's fine." Like, we skip our one-on-one regularly because he's like, "She's fine. She's out there. She's whatever, thousands of miles away, but she's getting her work done." Um, so I think, like, that is one thing that has come up that I'm like, interesting, like, never being first for any kind of
Hmm.
team update, um, which I'm not complaining about. Usually, I cross my fingers and hope that he'll just forget about me altogether. Just like, I have nothing to update you all on, it's fine. So anyway, that has happened, but then also just being comfortable, cutting in or like if you have value to add. I also am not the person who is going to just talk. I don't need people to hear my opinion. Like, unless I'm making an actual impact on the conversation, I'm just going to not say it. Like, I'm in my warm house here, cozy. Like, I don't know. I think again, this comes with being a mom, being a parent, working remotely, like growing up, like being in the same industry for a long time, being in at the same company for a long time. I think it's like a collection of variables that have led me to just be really comfortable. So I wish it for everyone, really.
I mean, I think that's, yeah. Like how we always talk over each other.
I know.
I was gonna say, I think that's an important point though, that like sometimes, and I know I fall into this trap a lot, like you get so caught up in like the point you want to say, Kelly and I just talked over each other, or like you want to make an impact, you want to show something that like it's also okay to just be comfortable. Like people know what they need to know and you have what you have and you what you need. And being comfortable is also like a great outcome a lot of the times.
I will say, so I just went fully remote when we started the Revenue Insiders and I moved out of corporate America. And I often don't see my clients until the end of the project where we're actually activating whatever the project is. And I've noticed that I miss that interaction early where you build trust. And I'm having to relearn what I need to do to build those relationships because I'm someone who works really well in a corporate setting and with executive teams because I know you as a person. I can work with you. I have the EQ to understand where you're at. But to do that in a meeting with a lot of people over Zoom is really hard. And so I'm having to relearn different skills and refocus myself on requesting one-on-one meetings and making priorities, and they're extra things that I wouldn't normally do, but because I'm not in an office or face to face, I have to do them. So I'm sure that stuff has you've just learned over time, but it's challenging, and definitely something I'm still figuring out.
Yeah, and there is something about being in person with people, like, right now, and normally I'm working with one client kind of full time, one portfolio company. Sometimes I have, one project kind of wrapping up while I'm kicking off another or something like that. But it is interesting not having initial contact in person because it is like, oh, you're just a face on a screen, kind of, even not seeing people in their setting, like, oh, this is your desk at work. This is, like, this is where you walk to get a snack between our 5 calls of the day. This, just like kind of conceptualizing like who that person is outside of the screen. Actually, I do travel. When I do travel, it's for kind of discovery or like project
Mm.
kickoff. And then also, for training, I often travel. So I have been able to meet people. I think I've met all of my clients. I've met them in person at least one time for discovery. And that does help. Like being in a room and especially for them to get to know me, I'm an outsider. Like I'm consultant ish, really, if you think about it. Like, yes, my company is investing in their company. And so there is vested interest. Like we have a mutual interest to like make that company successful. So it's a little beyond what a consultant would do, but still, it's their baby. I'm usually meeting with founders. Like these companies are on the smaller side. So I'm meeting with founders and the VP of sales that have just left their big corporate job to come and work in this startup. And they have a lot on the line, and they really care, which I love. I actually just made a TikTok about how my favorite clients are the ones that are like super nitpicky and detail oriented because it means they're passionate. Like if you're sending me a new question or request 10 times a day, it's because like you're in the system, you're using it, you are trying to adapt and improve, and like that's who I like to work with. And so, anyway, back to my point, like being an outsider and coming in, having people meet me in person. I mean, you just, you give off an energy, and you can do that over Zoom, but it's not the same. But I will say after an initial meeting over Zoom, totally fine with me.
Yeah.
Like, so anyway.
Okay, I have one more question and then it'll be time for our POV for you. Does the CRM Bestie TikTok come up at work for you a lot? Do people like either the clients or internally, like with your peers, is it something that's bubbled up a bunch? Have people found you, or are you kind of like a secret side project?
So I've brought it up to a few people. Like I have a few, I would say, closer colleagues that I've chatted with over a dinner when I'm there for a team meeting or something, and they ask like, how are you? What are you up to? Like, I'll subtly drop it. I have also told my manager and of course HR because I'm like, is anything I'm doing here a conflict of interest? Like, I do not want to get in any legal trouble. And essentially what I've gotten from management is like, as long as you're getting your work done and there's no conflict of interest, you're fine to do that. I also have been thinking about kind of joining my LinkedIn together with CRM
Mm,
Bestie, but it feels a little muddy to me. I'm like, I don't know, on LinkedIn, I am an employee of my company, not CRM Bestie. So I'm kind of trying to feel that out. And then a few of my portfolio companies, these people I'm working with would be my friends in real life. Like they are in their 30s, really, really like passionate about tech and processes, like super smart, like fun, great people. And so I would be friends with them. So like the people who I end up staying in contact with, I'll let them know about CRM Bestie. And they've seemed to like it. I don't know. So it's worked fine so far. It's been
I
good.
think okay, it is time for our point of view question. So, this is where you ask our listener a question that they should ponder and think about this week.
Okay, so I actually had 2. One of them was more work focused and one of them was more life focused.
Okay,
So
great. I
I'll
love
leave you
that.
with both and then, yeah, you can decide what to do with them. So the first one was, is there one thing in your workflow that you could automate or improve today that would save you 5 minutes a day moving forward? If so, what's stopping you from making that improvement? So that's one. And then a life focused one. And I touched on this earlier and we talked about prioritizing together as well. So, when is the last time that you thought deeply about your priorities and your values? And is I guess, are your day to day actions actually in line with those priorities and values?
That's a great one. I mean, they're both good. I feel like the first one is my actual job, and I'm supposed to be doing that all the time. So the second one is great. But I mean, both are fantastic. It's a good reminder. Like you just need to think in small steps. You don't need to solve world hunger. Just like what's the one like what can save you 5 minutes, and why aren't you doing it?
Right, yeah, and I find that I always have little things that I'm like, "Oh, I'll do that," like, "Ooh, I know that I could, like, add an AI step to this and make it easier." Like, just do it. Do it one time, and then you're saving time long term, so we all can work on that, I'm sure.
I should do that analysis for sure. So that's my homework.
This was such a great conversation. I mean, I love a system, a process, a Salesforce topic. So I'm super excited to continue following you on TikTok. Where can everyone find you? So CRM Bestie on TikTok. Where else
Yep.
can people look you up?
I also just started posting to my Instagram, so at CRM Bestie on Instagram, and then Megan Fletcher on LinkedIn, if you wanna look me up there. Uh, yeah, and then I have, like, a little Stan store linked in my bio in TikTok that has Salesforce free resources. There's, like, a free pipeline audit in there, which is fun. I think it's fun. So yeah, reach out to me at any one of those places.
Amazing. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Megan. It was so great to have you today.
Thanks for having me.